And Melissa's gone. Okay, we're all ready to go. Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Jamestown Public School Board. It is 5:15, November 6th, and we're in the Thompson Community Room in the middle school. Note that at 4:30 p.m. we had the Teacher Leadership Academy research reports this evening. I'd like to welcome all those in the audience tonight. Thank you for joining us. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under conflicts of interest, are there any conflicts of interest the board would like to declare this evening? Any conflicts of interest? Any conflicts of interest? If not, moving on. School board norms. Gail.
The board developed norms are to share and respect opinions and speak with a united voice once a decision has been reached, to execute all duties of school board in compliance with the North Dakota Century Code, to properly prepare for meetings, and to commit to assessing board effectiveness and ensure high-quality governance for all stakeholders.
Thank you, Gail. We have one request for public communication this evening. Susanna Walker. Susanna, please come to the mic and state your name and address.
Hello, I'm Susanna Walker and I'm from Jamestown. Okay. On July 17, 2023, I appeared before this board and read a speech. I chose that format because of the content. It's very difficult to stand before you pointing fingers trying to help you understand what's happening in our schools. So a couple of you sent me some follow-up questions. Thank you for that. I do appreciate it and I hope I answered those. Some of the feedback I got is that I'm doing this because I'm disgruntled. I'm trying to get back at administration and I don't see the big picture. So tonight, I want to tell you where I'm coming from because I also believe that there is greatness happening in our schools. I graduated from Jamestown High School. Not only that, I raised a child in this system from kindergarten through 12th grade. In elementary school, my daughter didn't just learn math, English, science, social studies, and physical education. She learned how to defend herself because people aren't always nice. She learned how to ask for what she wanted, and more importantly, she learned how to ask for what she needed. On top of all that, they exposed her to her love of reading and music. As far as parents go, the only thing we could offer her were study skills. When she got to middle school, her subjects were solid. In middle school, they taught her how to socialize with many students, many different students who had many different personalities. And that's a challenge for every one of our middle school students. In middle school, she continued her love of reading and music. And also, she had been drawing since she was 3 years old. She was introduced to an art teacher that took her work to the next level. In middle school, they also introduced her to her passion of sewing. By the time she got to high school, she didn't study for her ACTs. She took her ACTs, and she scored high enough that UND awarded her a $4,000 scholarship for each year she attended. Her vocabulary is astonishing. And as far as her music, when I read a story, I see pictures. When she sees sheet music, she hears that tune in her head. She developed her sewing and her drawing skills so well, it not only took her through college, she turned it into a career. And that's what I call greatness, right? When you take a kid from kindergarten through 12th grade, you introduce that child to their passion, and then you turn around and give them the skills to turn it into a career. What more can a parent ask for? I appreciate everything this community and this school district has done for my family, and we are very, very thankful for that. I'm not doing this out of spite or a lack of understanding. I see the big picture, I just don't necessarily agree with the path we're taking to get there. I have worked for multiple principals. I have worked for multiple superintendents, and I have a very unique perspective on this school district. Because on one hand, I raised an A student who appreciated schooling. She appreciated her teachers. On the other hand, I worked with your at-risk kids, your most challenging kids, the one no other teacher wanted in their classrooms. I am standing before you today because of those at-risk kids and because of my experiences in education. Test scores, they confuse me. We test these kids, we don't get the results for months and months. We have to hire someone to teach us how to read those scores so we can decipher and explain it to the students to tell them how they did. What are the chances our parents even know how their kids are doing? As far as building another alternative school, you can do it, but we've done that. If you want to change education, you need to make a fundamental change in the way you do business. And that's why on July 17, 2023, I said to you, every student at the age of 16 after 10th grade should be given the GED. These GED test scores should be sent directly to parents and guardians in a language they can understand. Parents and guardians should sit down with their student and determine what their next educational steps are going to be. Are they going to continue high school, go to trade school, go into the military? Do they want to go right into the workforce or give Job Corps a try? Give them a choice. I am doing this because I have a passion to help at-risk kids. I am saying this because of my experiences in your schools. I'm going to say it one more time because I believe it's so important. If you want to change education, you need to make a fundamental change in the way you do business. Test your kids at 10th grade with the GED. Send those readable test scores to their parents and guardians. Let them choose to be here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Under our consent agenda, there's some items listed. At any point, if someone would like to remove something from that consent agenda for further discussion or clarification, it does not need a second. Is there anything you'd like removed? I'll give you a minute to review it. If not, is there a motion? Motion by Steve, second by Aaron. We have a motion, a second for approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? We have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. Assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Moving on to our regular meeting, we have nothing. The first thing we have is a recognition, and Dan, would you be willing to read that? And as we recognize him, we can have him come up to the table over here.
The North Dakota Association of Technology Leaders Conference on October 18th awarded Quentin Pettis with the Technology Leader Large District Award. NDATL Board of Directors remarked, Quentin's commitment to excellence and unwavering pursuit of excellence have been truly inspiring. He demonstrates exceptional talent, but also the determination and passion required to reach the pinnacle of success. Congratulations for your dedication, hard work, and outstanding contributions to Jamestown Public Schools.
Thank you and congratulations. We have nothing under correspondence. Under reports, board education, educational competency, North Dakota School Boards Association Conference overview. Jamie, would you like to share a little bit of information?
Sure. I had a good time, mostly. I'm just going to touch on a couple things that stood out to me. One was Jamie Vollmer, who talked about cultivating allies and strengthening partnerships. He shared such an interesting story about he had a business that made the best ice cream in America, and he eventually got on some boards and went around to schools and was basically trying to tell schools how to run like he runs his business. And the teachers always kind of, didn't agree with that. And the one teacher asked him, what do you do when you get a not top grade product? If you get bad blueberries, well, he sends them back. Well, public school can't do that. We take all the blueberries, we take them all, and then we have to decipher how to best service all of them. So that was really interesting to me. The other thing that he brought up too was all the mandates that come out year after year after year for education, and how those mandates, which historically have been the responsibility of families or parents or communities, are all on the schools now, and that we can't do it alone. We need a partnership to do that. So that was really interesting. I also went to a breakout group for data collection. So we went over a couple of the websites, Insights ND, which does the student outcomes. So if you guys get a chance to go in there, it's very interesting. Also the DPI website for financial transparency. Other than that, I do have to say that I think that we do a really good job at onboarding here. I was very familiar with a lot of the things that we went over, our processes, our open meeting laws, our financing. So it was a good review, and it was good to meet a lot of people from many different districts that deal with different things. Talking to people who have 25 students, K through 12 was a different insight too. So I really enjoyed myself, and it was very good.
Thank you, Jamie. Any questions or comments from the board? Dr. Leck, and I know Christy isn't able to share the business thing, which that would be her first time attending that, but
Yeah.
go ahead and share some of that, please.
Thank you. Yeah, Christy did draft conference notes, and I put those in my report, and you can see those. I'm very thankful, as always, for the opportunity to attend School Boards Association's conference and the North Dakota Council for Educational Leaders. I feel like I get a great deal of value from those conferences, not just in content, but also in connections. Whether we visit with, as Jamie said, you visit with other superintendents or board members from other places, you learn a lot just in that dialogue with others, and you build some good relationships that help you when you are looking on how to solve a problem. You have a lot of different connections, and I always appreciate the opportunity to attend. I attended the school law seminar and then the annual conference. Just to give you a rundown of some of the sessions that I attended sessions on school construction, mentoring opportunities that exist in North Dakota, results-based budgeting, updates on TFFR. That was kind of there for moral support with those that I serve with in that board. I thought particular interest was, Scott Wagner, he's an attorney that was brought in in the school law seminar. He had a fantastic presentation, a little heavy, but a fantastic presentation on school construction. And he provided to everybody there a school construction finance guide, just walks through different sections of things that districts should be considering. And I thought it was a great guide for board members and for superintendents. So I included, we digitized that, and by we, I always mean Amy, did a great job of digitizing that for us. And I linked that in the agenda, or in my report, and I think it's maybe a helpful guide for us in the future. I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that it was there. And then, like I said, I shared Christy's notes as well.
Thank you, Dr. Leck. Any questions about what we covered? All right. If not, moving on, Dr. Leck, your superintendent's report, please. Thank you.
So a lot of the items in my, thank you, a lot of the items are in my written report are action items, so I may touch on those, some more than others. We did meet with our calendar committee, so we have representation from every building, from teachers and administrators. We review a couple of different calendar options, and we make revisions to those based on the priorities, knowing that no calendar can be everything to everybody. And I give them a list of things that I start from. There's certain areas in any calendar that you have to work from, and that's, when do you want to start? When does the community expect to end? What does the community expect? And when does our staff expect for different breaks? How do we ensure that we have breaks that are spread out? And at the end of the day, we can't do everything. And that group has the responsibility to look at those different calendars and make the best decisions that they can. It is, as I share with them, a completely democratic process. I have opinions on everything, but I'm a vote in that room. And so we go through the process. They do a great job. They do a lot of work getting feedback from other staff, because I'll send out 2 different ones from every year because we do a biennial calendar, because we don't want to do it twice a year, or once every year. But we do it that way. We get good feedback. They talk to staff, they get some perspective, and then ultimately they make a recommendation. I tell them that the majority rules, and whatever calendar has the majority opinion is the one that I bring as a recommendation to the board. And for the most part, we work with a consensus model. So those are the two calendars that we have, and I'm sure there'll be questions on those as we get to them, but I have great appreciation to the committee who they do a lot of work, and they wade through this stuff to make sure that they have the best possible perspective when they make a recommendation. The Southeast Education Cooperative annually provides some pretty good data for us on what our regional, SEC is our Regional Education Association. That's a collective of school districts working together to improve quality of education and quality of services for North Dakota schools. Not all of us are large districts like Jamestown. There's a lot of things that we can provide for ourselves. REAs play a really important role because they provide those services to everybody, whether you're Ashley or Fargo. And it's really about choice. And I think from an REA perspective, school districts get out of REAs what they put into them. If you want to be involved, you get a lot of good information, you get a lot of good training, you get a lot of good guidance and programming. If you don't, you get less. And so they do, I think, a pretty good job of talking about their impact as an REA, the impact of all REAs, the Regional Education Associations as a whole. They have an organization, NDREA, and so they do an annual report for that. And they share participation rates for Jamestown. And so you can see how do we collectively engage in the REA services. And so, like I said, sometimes there's things that we just don't need because we provide those things internally. And there's other things that we take great value from. There's some years we use the SEC a lot, and there's other years that we don't. It just depends on what our needs are. But I think they do a really good job of making the case for why they are important and why REAs serve a really important role in our state. And so we're very appreciative. I would have to say that we have the great fortune of having what is considered, in my mind, the highest functioning of the REAs in the state. I think they do a wonderful job, and I'm very appreciative of everything that they provide to us, and they are a wonderful partner. Strategic planning, that is still something that's in the process. We met as a committee on October 30th, and we looked at some revisions, and that were based on our school board retreat. We got some more feedback from the committee, and so we'll be meeting again. And really what our goal is to try to build a consensus amongst the strategic planning committee. So before we bring it here, we've had a lot of discussion, and we want to make sure that the strategic plan is congruent with the perspectives of that committee because they're representative of you, and so we can make sure that that is formatted and organized and touches on the areas that it needs to. So sometimes those things take some time, but we are working on it. So our intention is to revise that document again over the next few weeks, and then we'll meet again as a strategic plan committee. Then our plan is to bring that to you on November 20th. So a lot of work yet to do, but we're working on it. You'll have cooperatives for boys and girls soccer that are coming up in your agenda. Joint powers agreement and transportation bidding, those are also that's also a document that I'm recommending for your approval. Essentially, in the joint powers agreement, we are looking to collectively bid for transportation rather than go out on our own. We're hoping that we can leverage size in other districts. And so we have met a few times, and we'll meet again tomorrow on transportation bidding. So, a recommendation to approve on that. I did make a point, as we talked to legal counsel on this, they felt that, sometimes in these types of agreements, the board proxies the superintendent to make these decisions and to serve in that capacity. Legal counsel suggested that it would be best practice to send a board member, because board members, even though you would assign that proxy responsibility to me, her recommendation is that a board member be assigned to do that in representation of the board because it is a board function. So I would recommend that as well. But I wanted to point that out. We have an MOU for the school resource officer vehicle. That's something we've been talking about, and I feel comfortable with the MOU that legal counsel for the city council has outlined there. It's congruent with the things that we've talked about at this board and what I've talked about with Chief Ettinger as well. The AIA agreement that for the middle school project, that's another thing that's recommended for approval. Essentially what this is crediting back the remaining contingency and allowance money that wasn't used as part of the project. Jordan gave us a contingency log that's attached to that as well. National Blue Ribbon Award. This is information you're familiar with. You know that Augusta Elementary has been awarded the National Blue Ribbon Award. That ceremony takes place on the 16th and 17th in DC. So they'll get a chance to go there, be a part of some professional development, but also be honored for those achievements. Senator Hoven's going to come to Jamestown, speak at Augusta Elementary on December 18th. So if any board members would like to attend that, I will let Mr. Anderson know, and he would make sure that you get invited to that. But he wants to congratulate staff and recognize their achievement in Jamestown Public Schools. And they'll be here on November 20th. Originally, they had slated to be here today, but they have a fundraising opportunity through their PTO, so they asked to extend that, which I think is actually good timing because they'll be just returning from that DC experience. And with that, I would stand for questions.
Are there any questions from the board?
That's your brain break. You can stand for questions.
Any questions? Aaron, go ahead.
Just on the other AIA agreements there, we have got two other ones, right? Do we have any other dates of when we'll get closure on those?
Just the projects themselves?
The agreements there with the contingency release?
I thought the high school was done, correct? I thought the high school was
I
done.
didn't know there would be a quiz.
I will check on that. I will double check with Jordan. I thought this was our last remaining one for these, but I could be wrong, and I will double check and I'll give you an update on those.
Maybe I'll check too.
Yeah.
That's good.
We'll check into that, Aaron, and thank you for bringing that up. Any other questions? Any other questions from the board?
Maybe just an update on the projects. We are with the weight room at the high school. They are having to replace the floor because it wasn't to our standard, so that's something that they're going to be doing in the next 6 to 8 weeks. But it'll take them a few weeks to get that done, but just a process to get that up to our standards, but they're getting there.
Good. Any other questions? If not, moving on, we have nothing under old business. Under new business, number 1, activities A, approval of a cooperative agreement, and there is number 1, boys soccer with Barnes County North Public School, and number 2, girls soccer with Barnes County North Public School. Is there a motion? Motion by Jamie, second by Steve. Any discussion? Go ahead, Aaron.
Just a question on the girls' soccer. There was an indication that there was going to be 0 participants.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the suggestion was, or the request from Mr. Roldson was simply to do both, because that way we wouldn't be bringing a cooperative agreement for girls
Gotcha.
back to the board. You're just doing it at one time.
Okay, thank you.
Right now, this with boys soccer, that would be 1 7th grade student, but 2 siblings potentially to follow.
I usually have a couple questions and comments about cooperative agreements. I just always want to make sure that we review them frequently and just making sure we have capacity for the extra students. Some of our programs numbers fluctuate frequently, and some years we may have more capacity than others for additional students. For example, if we have to hire additional coaches, transportation costs are high right now, so if we have to go with a bigger bus rather than a smaller bus, those kinds of things. So I just would like the district to probably take an annual look of which agreements do we have this year, how many students do we have in our programs currently, and how many students do we anticipate to be brought in from the other. If we can provide opportunities for kids, it's great, but we want to just make sure that we have, because I think we pass these and then sometimes they're kind of a permanent thing, and so that we just kind of review them. So that's my comments. Go ahead, Dr.
I would just have a comment related to that. I agree that it provides what I would consider mutual benefit. At least that's my perspective. It provides an opportunity in a program that doesn't exist in a smaller partner school. Soccer, swimming are good examples of that. A small district still has a basketball a lot, or can work together and have a cooperative in a basketball program, but it's much harder to do soccer, swimming, those kinds of activities. Those are historically in Jamestown have attracted fewer participants. That isn't always the case. If you look at one snapshot in time, there may be a larger number in a certain program versus 5 years later, but historically those programs are fighting more for enrollment or participants. And so this provides the district with more participants in those activities as well. I did ask Mr. Rolson to give an update on these a little bit. And I do see Valley City somewhat differently. We have a number of different cooperative agreements with Valley City, hockey, wrestling, and I see them as very different. They're like a primary partner, or what I would consider to be a primary co-op. Those programs don't exist without that cooperative agreement. And I see those as different than, say, Barnes County North bringing one 7th grade student into the boys soccer program. That's not the difference between us having a program and not having a program. But we did look, boys soccer, 4 Valley City students, had about 35 total boys out this fall. Those 4 Valley City students all returning next year. A total of about 35 boys out, 7 through 12, so varsity and JV. Cross country had a couple of students from Montpelier. Girls swimming and diving had 3 Valley City girls and 1 from Litchville. And then, of course, we know very recently we had cooperative agreements from St. John's Academy at 7th and 8th grade. And not cooperatives, but we do have a number of homeschool students that participate, and we're statutorily required for those anyway. I don't consider them to be co-ops, but that gives us a little insight. But I agree with Dr. Larson that there's an importance to looking initially, and I did ask Mr. Rolson the procedure for that. He looks at enrollment numbers in that year, kind of historical numbers, kind of looking a little bit into the future. He oftentimes asks the coach, what is your perspective on, adding students in your program? And then there does, I agree, need to be some kind of annual review. Are these co-ops still in place? Are they bearing fruit? Are they likely to see impact in the future, and help us to assess that? But I also agree that if we're talking about cutting players, if we're talking about increased expenditures to the district, say adding another C-level coach or another program, extending down into the middle school, something like that, we would have to look at, are those cooperative agreements still appropriate?
Thank you for the information, Dr. Luck. Any other discussion points, questions? So we have a motion and a second for approval of cooperative agreements for boys soccer with Barnes County North Public School and 2 girls soccer with Barnes County North Public School. Any further discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Number 2, building and grounds. Approval of final AIA agreement for Jamestown Middle School project. Is there a motion? Motion by Dan. Is there a second? Second by Aaron. We have a motion and a second for approval of final AIA agreement for Jamestown Middle School project. Any discussion? Any discussion? Dan.
To answer Aaron's question, it was April 3rd that we approved the other 2.
Thank you for the information, Dan.
Oh, one comment with that, if you looked at the dates on those were also, in that AIA agreement, those are amended to maximize warranty. If that question arose, I visited with Consolidated about that because I had that question. And that was to extend the warranty, to make sure that we got the maximum warranty. Because we were waiting on some product, if you remember, at that level. And so there's a date change in there that relates to warrant. And the reason why we made the change and approved the change, or recommending of the change for approval, relates to maximizing that annual warranty, or that warranty.
Very good. We have a motion and a second for approval of final AIA agreement for Jamestown Middle School project. Any further discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Under curriculum assessment and instruction, A, approval of the 2024 to 2025 and 2025 to 2026 school calendars. Is there a motion? Motion by Gail. Is there a second? Second by Jamie. The motion and a second for approval of the 2024 to 2025 and 2025 to 2026 school calendars. Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Finance, approval of joint powers agreement for transportation bidding. Is there a motion? Motion by Aaron. Is there a second? Second by Diane. We have a motion and a second for approval of joint powers agreement for transportation bidding. Any discussion? Any discussion? Aaron?
Do you see any risks with this joint power agreement?
That's a great question. I really don't. We did get this reviewed by legal counsel. They actually were encouraged by the process. They felt like we were, we had a good solution to the problem. No, I don't see any concerns the way it's worded. I don't see any risks. We would essentially bid collectively, but we could always decline the bid. So I think maybe the biggest risk would be making sure that we get all 5 on the same, continue through the whole process. I want to make, we have 5 now. If somebody else chooses to do something different, we might only have 4. And then somebody else chooses to do something different, we have 3. So nobody's making a commitment, just like we are basically saying this whole idea is to bid together. But as things, people might peel off. So that's my biggest concern, is that we start with leveraging 28 routes and maybe we finish with 18. But no risks in that capacity.
Yeah, good question, Aaron. Any other discussion? We have under finance, we have a motion, a second. Oh, Jason, go ahead. Sorry, Jason.
So some of these districts, I don't know if you can hear me, some of these districts are deciding to go away from their own personal line of buses. I know Valley City, Jamestown is D-Trix, but Gackles.
They all contract.
Oh, they all contract?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Some are assessing whether they want to purchase their own
Okay.
now, which is what led me into the, right now we have 5. Maybe we have 4, and who knows, maybe there's, another 2, and we have 7 later. But right now, we're starting with that 5 that began the initial discussions. But they all contract this year.
Good. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second under finance for approval of joint powers agreement for transportation bidding. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? If not, assuming a roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Under personnel, we're going to go through the approval process for the superintendent formative evaluation, which we do every fall, and then we have the other evaluation in March. I thank you for those of you that got your evaluations completed, and thank you, Amy, for reminding me and others to complete their final sections of this, so thank you very much. I did review the entire evaluation, and I met with Dr. Leck for about an hour last week, and I'd like to kind of categorize it as I reviewed it. I kind of categorized it into some different sections that we discussed, and a couple common themes were strategic plan and community, so I'll start with those. We are working through the strategic plan process. We had a meeting last week, and we have made some more recommendations as the committee, the strategic planning committee, Aaron, Jamie, and myself. And we have a few more kind of tweaks to it that we'd like to see. And we're going to meet again next week for a final review, hoping to bring it to the board for the next meeting. The board has made it clear that we want to get back on track with this and have some progress monitoring of this, and that's something that Dr. Luck has been working on this year, and so we're glad to see that. The other comment that I want to make is community. Dr. Luck is extremely involved in the professional and state level, and I think this year with some added staff, he's been able to get into the classrooms a little bit more, into the schools, but we certainly always want to see him involved in the community as much as he can. It is important to our district, I feel, and many board members feel, for him to be involved at the state and professional level. Those were the, involved in the legislative and decision-making processes is always important and helpful for our district. He is also on newly this last year on Central Valley Health Board also, which is more involved in the community as well. But just to continue that community involvement and to be visible in the schools. So I'd like to continue to see that. 3 areas that he ranked very high in strengths are finance, resources and human resource management, as well as board relations. And I think everyone can probably, as they reviewed it, noted that as well. As we go through this evaluation, there are 6 parts to it, and for each part, I'll be looking for a motion of satisfactory or a motion of unsatisfactory for each part, all 6 parts. So there'll be 6 separate motions, 1 for each part. Does the board have any questions on that? Okay. And any questions on any other information I covered? Okay. If not, we'll proceed with the 6 parts. The first part is goal and vision setting. Is there a motion for satisfactory or unsatisfactory? Gail.
I move the satisfactory for section 1.
There's been a motion for satisfactory approval for goal and vision setting. Is there a second? Second by Dan. We have a motion and a second for goal and vision setting. Any discussion? Jason.
So in regards to the strategic plan, is the intention of that to be addressed in the committee, or do we plan to somehow address it regularly at meetings? I'm not on that committee, but a quick opinion would be, I feel we should have a standing agenda item at each board meeting, just to progress monitor.
Thanks for that input, Jason. The plan is to have progress monitoring as part of a standing agenda item. Aaron.
Yeah, one of the big things that we talked about in our last committee meeting was metrics and appropriate tracking and how we're going to not only hold, the superintendent, Dr. Leck, accountable, but how are we going to hold ourselves accountable? This is on us. We own this strat plan, and so it's really the board. It's up to us to establish what we want to measure and how we want to report it. So it's really not on anybody else but us.
Any other discussion or questions, comments? Thank you, Aaron, for following up with that. So we have a motion and a second for satisfactory rating for Area 1 goal and vision setting. Any other discussion? If not, Amy, are you going to do roll call votes for us? Do you have that available? Okay.
Jason Moore,
Yes.
Gail Nelson. Yes. Dan Tweeden.
Yes.
Aaron Roberts.
Yes.
Steve Belknap.
Yes.
Diane Hanson.
Yes.
Jamie Fair. Yes.
Yes. Unanimous approval. Moving on to number 2, board relations. Is there a motion for satisfactory or unsatisfactory in the area of board relations? Dan?
In the area of board relations, I move a satisfactory rating.
There's a motion for satisfactory rating for board relations. Is there a second? Second by Aaron. We have a motion and a second for satisfactory rating of board relations. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, Amy, go ahead.
Gail Nelson. Yes. Dan Tweeden.
Yes.
Aaron Roberts.
Yes.
Steve Belknap.
Yes.
Diane Hanson. Yes. Jamie Fair. Yes. Heidi Larson.
Yes.
Jason Rohr.
Yes.
Unanimous approval. Number 3, human resource management. Is there a motion for satisfactory or unsatisfactory in the area of human resource management? Dan?
In the area of human resource management, I move to approve a satisfactory rating.
There's a motion for a satisfactory rating in the area of human resource management. Is there a second? Second by Gail. We have a motion and a second for satisfactory rating in the area of human resource management. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, Amy?
Dan Sweeten,
Yes.
Aaron Roberts,
Yes.
Steve Belkamp,
Yes.
Diane Hanson. Yes. Jamie Bear. Yes. Heidi Larson.
Yes.
Jason Ruler,
Yes.
Gail Nelson. Yes.
Yes, approval for satisfactory rating in the area of human resource management. Number 4, curriculum and student support services. Is there a motion of satisfactory or unsatisfactory rating in the area of curriculum and student support services? Gail?
I move a satisfactory rating for Section 4 curriculum and student support services.
Is there a second? Second by Dan. We have a motion and a second for a satisfactory rating in the area of curriculum and student support services. Any discussion? Jason?
I just wanted to point out I don't think this is working, but a clerical, board member, former board member Greg Allen is listed on the top of, I'm sorry, I'll be more clear here. Question 17 and 18, instead of, Steve, Mr. Allen is listed as the board member, so we may want to just clean that up.
We will do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason. You have to kind of turn it sideways to see that. So thank you for,
After all that discussion, how do we?
yeah, so thank you for, we'll take care of that. So we have a motion and a second for satisfactory rating in the area of curriculum and student support services. Any other discussion? If not, Amy?
Steve Belkamp.
Yes.
Diane Hanson. Yes. Jamie Bear. Yes. Heidi Larson.
Yes.
Jason Ruler,
Yes.
Gail Nelson. Yes. Dan Sweeten,
Yes.
Aaron Roberts.
Yes.
Pass.
Motion unanimously approved. Area number 5 is community relations. Is there a motion for satisfactory or unsatisfactory rating in the area of community relations? Diane?
I move that we award satisfactory in the area of community relations.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason. We have a motion and a second for satisfactory rating in the area of community relations. Any discussion? If not, Amy?
Diane Hanson,
Yes.
Jamie Bear. Yes. Heidi Larson,
Yes.
Jason Ruler,
Yes.
Gail Nelson. Yes. Dan Sweeten,
Yes.
Aaron Roberts,
Yes.
Steve Belkamp.
Yes.
Pass.
Motion approved for a satisfactory rating in the area of community relations. Our last area is operations and resource management. Is there a motion for satisfactory or unsatisfactory rating in the areas of operations and resource management? Motion. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second for a satisfactory rating in the areas of operations and resource management. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, Amy?
Diane Hanson,
Yes.
Jamie Bear. Yes. Heidi Larson,
Yes.
Jason Ruler,
Yes.
Gail Nelson. Yes. Dan Sweeten,
Yes.
Aaron Roberts,
Yes.
Steve Belkamp.
Yes.
Pass.
Motion passed. So, Dr. Luck, you just received your award at our last meeting for 10 years of service to our district. So we thank you and appreciate your service for this district. And you received a satisfactory rating in all 6 areas of the evaluation. So thank you very much.
Thank you. If I may just say something, I appreciate very much the opportunity to be a part of the Jamestown community and to be work alongside and learn alongside a lot of wonderful teachers, support staff, administrators. We are so fortunate in this district, and I'm reminded of that really every day, whether I get to observe in a kindergarten classroom and watch the amazing things that happen there, or get to go to an activity or whatever it is that I get to do. I'm reminded every day at the amazing work that happens on behalf of our kids, and it's a professional honor, to be completely honest, to be a part of this district, so thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Luck. There's more work to be done. So thank you. Always. Any other comments from the board before we move on? Yep, go ahead, Gail.
As far as the instrument that we use to evaluate, sometimes I have found it hard because I don't have the data to use, so I'm using my best guesses. Is it possible for us to look at some of that maybe at a retreat and find out ways to gather so that it's not my best guess, but actually something I'm making a decision based on from data? And I know we don't have to do that tonight, but there was just sometimes where I'd be like, and going by my own impressions and sometimes having worked there. So I just think there might be a better way to us to look at some of those. That's just, yeah, and that could be down the road too.
Yep. Thank you, Gail. Dr. Leck.
Let me think about that. I think there's a way to maybe compile a document that aligns some different product, like some outcomes or some data to each of those areas that would give a board member at least a chance to see what might fit into area one, what might, and when were those things done. So let me look at how I could organize that a little bit.
Would it help for us to point out which ones we maybe struggled with wanting more
Sure.
from? So
Yeah.
I could get that feedback.
Yep. Steve.
In the past, I think we've maybe also read the score. I don't know if it matters or not, but I was also wondering, is there some sort of benchmark for where satisfactory and unsatisfactory lands?
We don't have it necessarily. That's kind of our scoring system. And it's a 1 through 4 Likert scale. The board's responsibility is to determine, based on the information, satisfactory or unsatisfactory for that. Dr. Leck.
If I can add, School Board Association has recommended to boards in the past to not use a numeric cut score and say, this is that. It is, as Dr. Larson has suggested, that you would take your own internal metrics to say, in this instance, I believe as an individual board member that that is satisfactory, that's unsatisfactory, as opposed to saying a score of 1.79 would denote unsatisfactory. It's more a guidepost.
Yep, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, just another plug for some strat plan metrics here. That would be another great way to quantify our performance of our district and how we want to measure ourselves and our performance.
Thanks, Aaron. And I'll just add, Steve, it does help when I meet with Dr. Leck to review the entire report. It does help me to sort of categorize areas that, based on comments, based on scoring of different pieces. I do look at that as for discussion, and that's part of what I brought back here in my initial conversation. But if you want to, probably a good time to talk about that more is if we do a little review of, as Gail suggested, then we can spend more time kind of looking at maybe what other districts do, and just, we did that quite a few years ago now, and it may be time just to revisit it. And we get to revisit all this in March again as well, so thank you for bringing that up. Yep.
I get one more comment. I really do appreciate it. I spend a lot of time looking at the data that comes from that report. I enjoy very much looking at the rankings, but especially the comments. The comments give me a lot of good feedback, and I appreciate that. And honestly, in 10 years, there's been very few times I've looked at a comment and said, that's not fair. Normally, I get that. I get why that comment would be, something that I've done that the board says, boy, that's great, and we should, that definitely makes me feel good, but I learned from it, right? Okay, I'll continue to do this. And I get those things that say, I wish this had happened, or I wish something different was a case, or a ranking that's lower than other rankings. I get it. Most of the times when I look at that data, that helps me understand how I'm perceived across a big continuum, and that's very helpful for me. And so I appreciate the honest representation of those perspectives when you rank, but also the comments you provided. It helps me get better. So thank you.
Any other discussion or comments? Jason?
Does Dr. Leck ever do a self-eval based on these prior to?
I have done that at various times. I would be happy to do that if that is the board's desire. I would be happy to do that. I know in the past, and not in this district, in other districts, I have written a response to the evaluation that helps to provide some context, where in some cases I might say, I agree with that. That's a fair, that this was a dip from last year, or this was an increase from last year, or from the summative to the formative, or formative to the summative, excuse me. And here's why that might be, or I agree with that, or here's some context that may be missing. These are 5 things that we've done, or something like that. And I would, really just would be reactive to the desires of the board on that, to either do a self-assessment or to do a response.
Yep, a follow-up, Jason.
So really quickly, maybe the route to go for us to consider would be, it's Dr. Lex. We do the evaluation, and then Dr. Leck, in part of his self-eval, is compiling the evidence for us to review on how each standard is being met. Just a thought. We can talk later.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is all good discussion. I was part of the last time we kind of evaluated our process, and we completely redid our process. And it's always good to continue to evaluate our process that we have in place. And I think, some good points have been brought up, and we can certainly maybe do a retreat or something like that to do a deeper dive, or even create a task force for that. And it was great discussion this evening. I also want the public to feel confident that the instrument that we do use is very detailed, and I think the board would agree is very thorough. But it's always good to look at our process and different ways to achieve data. So, any other comments from the board? Okay, if not, moving forward, we have nothing under policy and procedures. Number 7, tuition. A, approval of tuition agreements. 1, 7th grade student to attend Barnes County North Public School for the 2023 to 2024 school year. 2 pre-K students to attend Montpelier School for the 2023 to 2024 school year. 3, 8th grade student to attend Montpelier Public School for the 2023 to 2024 school year. 4, 10th grade student to attend Montpelier Public School for the 2023 to 2024 school year. Is there a motion? And you can include 1 through 4. You including 1 through 4? There's been a motion to approve the tuition agreements 1 through 4. Is there a second? Second. So we have a motion by Jamie and a second by Steve to approve the tuition agreements 1 through 4. Any discussion? Any discussion? There being no discussion, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. 8, under other, approval of a memorandum of understanding with the city of Jamestown. Is there a motion? Motion by Dan. Is there a second? Second by Aaron. We have a motion and a second for approval of the memorandum of understanding with the city of Jamestown. Any discussion? Any discussion? Yes. Yep. This would be the vehicle purchase. And thank you to Dr. Leck, who spent some time working on this and working out all the details, the concerns that the board had. So I appreciate that you've put the time into it, and it seems like we're where we want to be. So we have a motion and a second for approval of a memorandum of understanding with the city of Jamestown. Any discussion? Aaron?
Just to point out, this was approved by the Jamestown City Council, correct?
Correct.
So the question was, it was approved by the city council, yep. So any other discussion?
And one of the reasons why they expedited or wanted to expedite, they had looked and they had, I think in the span of a couple of days, 45 available vehicles became 1. And so they wanted to move very quickly. So that's the reason this came up pretty quick.
Availability. Yep, Jamie?
Do we have a different timeline or on this RO vehicle?
I think the arrival of the vehicle and outfitting the vehicle, I think outfitting the vehicle is going to take a little bit longer than getting the vehicle. I'm hopeful by the end of this school year, that we would have that, but it just takes, I suppose it depends on how long the contractor needs to outfit the vehicle.
Good question, Jamie.
But it was cheaper than what we anticipated, so that's good.
That's good news. That's good news. Yep.
Not often I get to see that.
Yeah. Especially with rising costs. So we have a motion and a second for approval of the memorandum of understanding with the city of Jamestown. If no further discussion, assuming a roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. D, items for future agenda. Do we have, Jason?
Can I quickly circle back to the board education? I attended the school law seminar
Oh, yes.
Thursday, and I won't take up much time. The one session that I found interesting was school board members' use of social media. Kind of an and it's not just, this wasn't really just school board member, it was any public elected official. And so the interesting thing was seeing that there are now court cases that are elevating through the court system regarding this issue. And some of the things were, whether you're the author of the post or you're just commenting, obviously, first of all, what's your capacity in your comments? Well, I think we all know here that whether our intention is or not, we're going to be perceived as a public official. And that's going to be the lens that most people they're not going to see us taking our hats on or off. So just some things there. But one thing that kind of struck me was, there were cases where people would do posts on either school issues, city issues, whatever, and then they would turn off the comments so people couldn't comment. So people were challenging First Amendment. They were, just a lot of interesting things like that, I don't think we have a problem here, but it's just interesting to see how some of those things now are working up through just more things that we need to be aware of, I guess. But I found that interesting. A great quick reminder session on open meetings and records, and I think we do very well here on that. That's something that is a topic every year, and the reason is because it's still happening where things are not being done the way they should be. So, and then we played school law Jeopardy, which was good. Open enrollment versus tuition agreements. That was enlightening again. But yeah, I just wanted to especially bring up the use of social media and some of those things to be aware of.
Thank you, Jason. I apologize. I didn't have you on the list that attended that, so thank you for sharing that with us. Any other items for future agenda? Any other items? If any time you think of an item that you'd like on agenda, please contact myself or Dr. Leck, and we can work through that. E, meetings to be scheduled. A, health insurance meeting is on Monday, November 13th at 3:45 p.m. in the district office conference room. Shortly after that, the school board retreat on Monday, November 13th, 2023 at 5:15 in the district office conference room. We'll have some food for that, correct? We'll get some food ordered in for supper. And C, school board meeting on Monday, November 20th, 2023 at 5:15 in the Thompson Community Room at the middle school. Any other meetings that I might have missed? The strategic planning meeting is also scheduled on the 14th at 4 p.m. And that will be in the central office, the conference room. Anything else that we have for meetings? All right. If not, the monthly superintendent evaluation is Section 2, Board Relations, and Section 5, Community Relations. There being no further business. Oh, Jason, go ahead.
Just real quick, is the retreat agenda set?
Yeah, we have policy discussion and then touching base back again with facilities. Those are the two topics.
Facilities, yes. So, and we'll have some food, and so we'll just for your awareness of that as well. There being no further business before the board, this meeting is adjourned.